This is the Niger Delta, a region of swamps and mangrove forests formed by the Niger River as it winds its way towards the Atlantic. It's a curious type of no man's land. There's no agriculture, no towns, no roads, almost no people, except for a few fishing villages by the water's edge. But in this muddy wilderness, there is one valuable natural resource, and it's created one of the biggest economic booms in the whole of West Africa. Oil was discovered in the Niger Delta in 1956, and now Nigeria is one of the largest oil-producing countries in the world. Oil has transformed the economy of Nigeria, and its effects have been felt in every part of the country. The wealth created by oil money was soon evident in the capital city of Lagos, where high-rise blocks sprang up to reflect the image of a thriving economy. The growth in the economy owed its success to the men who went to look for oil. It's 6:30 in the morning and the exploration teams are on their way. These crews work for the Shell Oil Company of Nigeria.
Out in the Delta here we have something like 8 crews operating through the year, and each crew will have something like 600 men. Now, out in the mangrove, there, many kilometers away from base, safety is a big thing, so you've got to take that into account. In other forms of oil exploration, transportation is easy. If it's all land, you go by lorries and other sorts of cars and so on. But for the swamp, you've got vast areas of mangrove forest which you've got to penetrate, and you've got to cut dead straight lines to acquire seismic data.
The seismic data they need is accurate information about the rock structures deep down under the mangrove swamps.
We have various sections in a seismic crew. We've got a recording crew, we've got a survey crew, we've got the drillers and detonators.
Working conditions in the mangrove swamps are not ideal. It's hot, sticky, and wet. Strict safety rules have to be followed in the swamps, and everyone wears life belts and helmets. The drillers have to place dynamite at regular intervals through the swamps. When it's detonated, it will send shock waves through the earth. These shock waves are picked up by the recording crews nearby.
V2 recorder?
We're using the principles of sound. Sound will travel through a medium until it meets a different medium, and some of it gets reflected back. If part of that rock is filled by oil or gas, therefore the reflection shows up brighter. Having acquired the data, when you go to the next phase of drilling, you drill to 12,000 feet, 12,500 feet. But we're now at a stage where we're looking beyond there.
The oil they're drilling for lies in pockets deep down below the swamps. Most of the oil deposits near the surface have been explored, so now they're planning to search for oil at depths of nearly 6 kilometers. The place where they decide to drill might be anywhere in the delta. Sometimes it could be in a river, at other times it might be right next to a village. Before the oil men came, fishing villages like this were unaware of the wealth that existed below their feet. Now, in the same stretch of river, they may have to share their lives with the technology of the developed world. The drilling rigs used in the swamps have to be floated into the positions decided by the exploration teams. The Shell Oil Company had been exploring for oil since 1938, but didn't make any major oil discovery until 1956. Soon, many other European and American oil companies joined in the search, and oil production increased rapidly. By 1972, Nigeria had become the 7th largest oil producer in the world. By the 70s, exports of crude oil had become 90% and more of Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings. With money pouring in from the sales of oil, the Nigerian government could make ambitious plans for developing the country. These were the boom years of economic growth, and nowhere was that more obvious than in the city of Lagos.
Oil meant boom in the cities. You have better roads. So some of the things that we thought you could never have for a fairly long time, light, electricity, the rest of it. Whereas you had only one place to get, only one bridge to cross to get to Lagos. Now you can get to Lagos at 3 different points now. All those things are attributable to the fact that we had oil money in the country.
Oil money also helped to improve the country's education system. And there was massive investment in teacher training. The number of universities rose from 2 to 34. A whole new financial and commercial centre was built in the middle of Lagos. All the government plans to develop the country were based on the money they were getting from oil. But in 1982, there was a setback. And many of their ambitious plans had to be abandoned. The bottom fell out of the market. There was now too much oil on the world markets, and in Europe and America the price fell dramatically. In less than 4 years, Nigeria's oil income dropped to a quarter of what it was. The boom years were over.
A country like Nigeria, which has only oil as the main source of revenue, faces very grave danger of being susceptible to the vagaries of the oil economy. When the oil market sneezes, we catch cold air.
During the boom years, Nigeria had simply got used to the huge revenue from exports of oil. So all the government's estimates of future income were based on the oil price staying the same. What would happen if the price dropped dramatically simply wasn't part of the government's reckoning.
If anything happens on the world market to oil, of course Nigeria is going to be in trouble. And indeed that's what happened in the past 5 or 6 years. We used to earn about $40 on every barrel of oil, and all of a sudden now we are earning 15, 18, and there was a time when it was $11 per barrel. Well, there was nothing else to export, and we couldn't get foreign exchange, and therefore we could not import needed goods, drugs, machinery, books for the country. And that is very dangerous for this country in particular. And oil is so volatile and it's so subject to political control worldwide that I think the country is imperiled by its dependence on this single commodity.
Oil is still the major source of Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings, and the economy is still dependent on it. To reduce this dependence on the export of crude oil, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has built new plants to refine the oil into petrochemical products. One of the essential ingredients used in the manufacture of tyres is produced from oil. It's called carbon black. This factory in Lagos is a joint venture between the Nigerian government and the Dunlop Tyre Company. The factory used to import the carbon black from overseas, but now that it's being produced in Nigeria, less has to be imported. So less foreign currency has to be spent in the manufacture of tyres for the home market. One of the products found with oil is gas. Most of the gas is released and flared off at the oil well. But there are various ways of using the energy produced by gas. Now, there are plans to develop natural gas production. This new gas plant has been built to process natural gas. From here, it's pumped to a power station where it's used to generate electricity for the city of Lagos. Another project now under construction will convert gas into a liquid form, which can then be exported more easily. When completed, this site will produce liquefied natural gas to sell to European countries. Right next to the site of the new plant is the village of Finima. And they've decided the village will have to go. The plan is to move the whole village population, about 200 people, to a brand new village some kilometers away.
Yeah, Finima is an interesting one because Shell and NNPC promised the people that, okay, we move you to a new location. Can you move somebody who may not have that fanciful house, but has a house with a compound? Because it's very crucial in this place, in these parts, in the rural areas, to have compounds whereby you have so many people living in a compound. Are you now going to move those people to a one-bedroom flat? A two-bedroom flat? They've built modern houses for them, new location. But there's a problem. The people feel that, yes, you build some houses, but it's like a debasement of our own tradition.
For centuries, the traditional occupation in the Delta has been fishing. The river is essential for their livelihood. It's their drinking water, as well as their fishing grounds. Now, with the arrival of the oil industry, their canoes have to share the water with oil tankers. The pollution from oil spillages has become a health hazard, both for humans and for fish. Many fishermen are now protesting against the damage done to their environment.
This oil come to the waters. When this ship comes like this, okay, it comes broke. You see, as they make. When they just go in group, come enter net, no need of casting fish again. Or when it goes in group, come enter trap, it come block eyes of the trap, no way to catch fish. And the water too, in the sand good.
Oil in Nigeria has caused very big problems for the fishing communities. In the first instance, many of those people who over the years have lived fishing, they now find that as a result of pollution, as a result of oil spillage, they are unable to make ends meet doing the same thing they've been doing for years. They can no longer fish as they used to fish in those days because of pollution and because of oil spillage, which has affected sea life, really. Many of them feel that they have not been compensated enough. And where that has been done, you find other complaints like no roads put in those places, no schools, no hospitals, even the small community hospitals. Nothing's available. But that's not to say in all the areas, but in many of these areas, because they're very difficult to reach. You find that all these amenities are not available, and you will expect that places that produce oil for Nigeria, you should find these things.
But it's difficult for small fishing communities like this one to make their protests heard. They see very little direct benefit from oil. Many fishermen have given up their way of life on the Delta to find other types of work in the cities. Oil money added to the attraction of the city, and people came from the countryside to get their share of the wealth created by the oil. That meant that the number of people working on the land declined, so there was less food being produced. Now, part of the money from oil is being used to buy food from overseas.
We started importing virtually every item of food from abroad because there was the money to pay for it. And in any case, the people who were taking away, who were buying oil from us, thought it was important that some of this money should be spent abroad as well. And so we forgot about agriculture, and today Nigeria has to import food. That has been one of the greatest evils which oil money brought to the country. Once oil money became available, Nigerians forgot about agriculture, which used to be our mainstay. And a country that is not able to feed itself is a poor country. We used to be self-sufficient in cotton, in palm oil, and groundnuts, and we lost all these.
If we had been wiser, maybe we would have treated agriculture the same way, given agriculture the same priority we're giving oil at that time. Realizing that we needed both, and realizing that oil can finish one day, and then what will we be left with? And at the same time, we don't have much money coming from oil because the oil market crashed a few years ago. But it's only now that we've begun to realize that.
We are really at the dependence of outside forces as far as oil is concerned. We're not in control at all. And one day the oil is going to get finished. So what's going to happen? Because we know that oil is a wasting asset. And so long as its proceeds are not used properly, and we have not been able to use those proceeds properly, what is going to happen to the country when we run out of oil, as we are bound to do sometime in the 21st century? I'm afraid it's very frightening to think about it.
Betakamba denala